Ryan here with Failsafe Goods. At the moment I'm working on a smash and grab, and I was thinking that maybe I'll take you along with me through parts of it. I've already got it started. I'm gonna aim you down there. Have the back side together, mid pocket and front kind of glued up at this point. So I figured I'd just take you with me and talk you through the other steps while I put it together. And then I'll show you the other two pieces this is going with. This is going to be a matching set of 3 different items. So that's kind of cool. The other 2 are done. And then hopefully I can get this shipped off today. So give me 1 sec to get organized and I'll talk you through the process. These are glued at the moment. This mid pocket gets skived really thin and then tacked down at the bottom. That way cards can get in there and not drop into the same depth as the first pocket. That way they're a little bit staggered. If you don't skive when you layer your pockets, your wallet ends up getting really thick in the middle. So that helps tremendously. Once that's tacked down, that next one gets glued on. I still have to stitch the patch on here and stamp that, so that's something that's got to happen soon. Back is glued. That'll need a stamp and a single stitch around here. It's historically a wallet that's done pretty well for me, and because of all the different pieces, I can really mix up all the colors and kind of make them fun and unique and one of a kind. So yeah, just kind of gonna talk through this and hopefully I don't ramble on too much. But first thing, once I get the mid pocket glued, my pocket depths are usually about 3 inches or 2 7/8. I do the mid one at 3, so I mark my stitch line and then give it a little tap. So I'll get my holes in the patch so I can stitch that together. Like I said, it's all glued down. I give it a couple minutes to kind of for the glue to dry and firm up so I don't just tear off the piece when I pull the irons out. Patch gets stitched on separately, obviously, so that first pocket can still be utilized. This is going to get a stitch run, but I sand this first so that I get a nice smooth edge there. Customer has chosen this purple thread to go with this whole wallet. So that'll be the accent pieces. A little accent color rather. A little splash of purple. This is Vinymo thread. I usually use main wax thread. I use Vinymo because they have more color options, but I definitely prefer the main thread more. It's just a hair thicker. It's got a nice wax to it, and the stitches set really nicely. And I have no concerns about them like wiggling out or anything, whereas the Vinymo does not come waxed. So I have to add that, and I melt the edges of the Vinymo into itself with a thread zapper. But with the main thread, I don't have to. I can just pull it tight and cut it, and they stay put because of the wax. Hit it with a little heat gun and melt all the wax, and everything settles in on itself really nicely. Edit out some of the fat out of this for sure. Keep it from not being a snooze fest. All right, so I even out my thread. I do 1 back stitch to start. So through that, I'll probably end up fast forwarding through these slow parts, but maybe leave them in. This purple is going to be a nice color pop because off of all the green and black. All right, so I got that stitched in. This backside, I'll use a lighter on parts of leather where you won't ever see it, but I don't ever use a lighter where it's visible. It can scorch the leather, discolor it a little bit, and I don't like the way it looks. So that's good. I'm gonna throw a quick stitch in here. I can use any color for that because it's not gonna be visible. So I'm just gonna grab some main thread that's already waxed. And I only want to do for this because I do it. So I don't worry about like a saddle stitch in this specific instance. But I do a few double backs and loops, and melt both ends. So I do back stitch one, and then I just kind of go back and forth, and every other hole will loop back on itself. Like here, so now I'm back stitch one just to keep all the holes uniform. So that gets a double loop there. And then the front is continuous, every hole covered. Okay, that's stitched in place. Now the card can't go all the way down. Melt these out. Smush them down. And take my slicker, I flatten those. Really bear down on that. And then I'll come up here just where the next pocket's gonna lay and just kind of give it a little press down. And that way when this goes on, it kind of seats in there really nicely. Really flush. And you get nice tight pocket overlap. Go ahead and hit this thread real quick. I just it's wax thread, so I hit it with a little heat. Just melt those wax goobers that get squeegeed off. That way there's no like little wax bits sitting in the glue. I just use little scraps of leather to smooth it out. Just use a scrap of leather a couple times and throw it away. Hit the glue again with some heat just to get it a little extra tacky. Line up that. Giving that a little bit of heat just makes that glue a little more tacky and it doesn't slide around on me. I'll cut that corner off after. I like to get the layers together before I cut it, and that way they're all nice and flush. Just press down, see if there's any glue squeeze out. Everything looks good. Now these edges will get a quick sand and a stitch and then burnished. So now these are real flush and uniform. I always tell when I've gotten it sanded enough because I can see the dark line of the next face up layer. Draw my edge line. And I don't do this part until after I've sanded, that way I know I'm scribing that nice smooth edge. Okay, those will get the same thread there. All right, so those are sewn up. Just skipped the stitching part. Felt kind of redundant to me to do it twice, since there's so many independent small stitching sections to this wallet. Got some watered down Tokonol in this pen. It's like a type of paint marker. That way I can just daub it on. I roll over the back side just a little bit so I can get full coverage. That with edge slicker, then a piece of canvas. And you'll start to hear it make that sticky sound. It's a good noise. It gets a nice shine to it. Got a nice sheen there. And then I'll get these glued up, punch a hole through it. Guess I gotta lop my corners off first, huh? This is my corner template. This is all the angles that I use. I have it marked where I line it up. Couple careful passes. Just make sure I line up the edges, squeeze them good, get any glue that wants to come out and wiped off. All right, I'm going to give that a minute. I'm going to hit all the edges on the sander again so it's all uniform. I'll make my stitch line, punch and stitch, then I'll get my lanyard hole in there. We'll bevel and burnish and it'll be done. This is set to about 1/8 of an inch. That's where I like to make punch my stitch line. I think the spacing looks nice. It doesn't happen to me a lot anymore, but when I first started, sometimes I'd like angle these the wrong way and you'd punch through and your line would be really close to the edge or too far in. And then it kind of ruins the whole piece. Yeah, now see, I want that last hole not to cut the edge of the leather. I need the next one to come here. Ideally, you want the thread to wrap over the edge and not cut it. If you cut it with your irons, yeah, that was in there. You can kind of compromise that piece. It probably won't rip, but it could. So now I'm just kind of gonna work backwards. Should be able to get 3 in here. Have it punch through. Just kind of working my way up to it, because yeah, okay. So again, so that comes up here and isn't gonna score that edge. It's like little details that are important to watch for. And this little shorty does my end piece here. These ones don't come out of the leather as well, which is kind of annoying, but does the job. So now I do the thread thing again, all the way around. All right, now I bevel and burnish. Real stuff. Get my slicker in the pockets just to make sure there's no glue that's come too far in. Get that as close as I can to the stitching without getting the stitching itself. Doing stainless hardware on this one. That plops in there like that. I get a piece for the back. This piece sits on the base. 2 or 3 whacks and we're good. Sometimes I'll come back and hit it from the other side just to make sure it seats nice. Sinks into the leather, not sticking out too much. That's it. Part of a matching set. Got the green and black welt and the nip slip. And you saw this the other day. Snapjack 2.0. So that's that. That's how I make a smash and grab. Thanks for watching. Give them hell.